All right, so full disclaimer on these next series of videos. I am filming these during the quarantine when people are told to be home during the COVID epidemic. So I have a lot going on at my house while I film this. And one of the things I have going on at my house is my daughter practicing her Irish dance in my dining room, which is rather loud. So I'm just warning you that you might hear a bunch of tapping and stuff in the background. And if you do, like right now, that is what you are hearing. So let's talk about finding volume. So volume is where we start getting into three dimensions, right? It's where we start talking about how much space does something occupy? How much can something hold? And these are all really practical questions. You know, if somebody's saying, well, I want to sell soup, and one serving's about this much, and I want to be able to put two servings in a can, then how big does my can have to be? So things like that, are real concerns, and this is a real honest to God application of math where it's legitimately useful. So in order to get our heads wrapped around that, we got to start with rectangular prisms, all right? And you covered these in 7th grade, but we'll just talk about them again. And the algebra book that we use just talks about kind of the three different dimensions and how you multiply your length times your width times your height. I just want to kind of show you something really quick. So if you've got, a prism, and you've got something like this, right? Pretty much, and I'm going to draw the dashed lines to kind of show you the bottom, the base. Yeah, I get that you have, you have your length, and you have your width, and you have your height. But another way I want you to think about it is the volume of anything is the area of the base, and that's what that big B stands for. It stands for the area of the base times, and I'll use the X there just to show that, times the height. And so that's where the length and the width come in. So when you're looking at this length and width is actually the area of your base. And the reason I just want to point this distinction out is because you can, if you know how to find the area of any base, or they tell you the area of the base, then you can find anything. So if you get some crazy shape and they're like, well, we've got something like this and blah blah blah, and the shape, and it kind of goes out here and goes in, comes out, and then comes back, and they tell you the size of the base, you can find the volume of it. You'd have to figure out the area of the base, and it's a weird shape, but you could do it, right? You can do it as long as you can figure out what the area of that base is, and then you can find the volume. So I just want to point that distinction out, and let's do some problems. All right, so for this, the area of our base, well, if you look at this, our base is going to be 12 is over here, and then 6 is how it goes here, because that's where that goes, and 12's from there. So 12 times 6, so the area of your base, right? The area of your base would be 12 times 6, which is 72. And then you would multiply that by your height. So you would wind up with the whole thing, the whole volume would wind up being just your 12 times your 6 times 2. And I understand you can put all these numbers together and just multiply away, but I just want to show you what you're actually doing. And you're finding the area of that base, and then you're basically, it's almost like you're stacking like slivers of it on top of each other to the tune of 2 inches. All right, so 144, and then this would be inches cubed, because each of these is an inch, right? And you have an inch times an inch times an inch. Well, if you called all these x, they would be x cubed, so it's inches cubed. All right, let's look at another one. Length, 6 yards, all right? So we've got 6. My width is 2 yards, all right? And then my height is 4 yards, all right? So we get something that looks more or less like this, all right? And so my base, right, the area of my base, or the big B, would be 6 times 2, all right, which gives me 12. And that would be yards squared. And then you would go, your volume is equal to your base times your height. So you get 12 times your height, which is 4. 12 times 4 is 48. This would be cubic yards. And you could get that same thing just by multiplying it all together. But again, I'm just showing you how to do this, how to find it. So this last one here, we got 13, 9, and 12, right? So my base on that's going to be my length and my width. So my base is going to be 13 times 9, all right? Well, 13 times 10 is 130. And if you subtract 13 from 130, that's going to give you 117, all right? And then if you take 117 and multiply that by 12, you get 1404, all right? So 1404 cubic feet. All right, and that's how these work. So length times width times height, or the area of the base times the height.